Welcome, viewer, to our terrifying tales of isolation, a trilogy of horror. Echoes of Isolation. 3 bone-chilling tales beckons you to the edge of your seat with stories that explore the eerie silence of solitude. Each narrative weaves a tapestry of suspense, inviting you into worlds where shadows whisper and the unseen is felt, promising an unforgettable journey into the heart of isolation. The Cabin in the Woods, Alone with Shadows, introduces a tale shrouded in mystery and darkness. Here, the pursuit of peace turns perilous as our protagonist seeks refuge in a remote cabin, only to find that solitude can sometimes be the loudest scream, echoing with things best left undiscovered. Upon arrival, the protagonist is greeted not by tranquility, but by the unsettling embrace of the cabin. Its wooden walls, meant to be a haven, quickly become a prison as the night unfolds. The promise of solitude turns into a chilling realization that sometimes one can be too alone. The first night is anything but peaceful. Strange noises pierce the silence, unsettling whispers dance through the air, and an eerie feeling of being watched takes hold. These disturbances hint at the cabin's dark history, suggesting that its past is far from buried and perhaps not alone. A discovery of an old journal reveals the cabin's tragic past, immersing the protagonist in tales of sorrow that have seeped into the very foundations of the place. The words within the pages serve as a grim reminder that some places are etched with stories that yearn to be told, no matter the cost. As night fell, the cabin's shadows began to twist and dance with a mind of their own, whispering secrets in the dark. The air grew thick with tension, a silent observer to the unfolding terror. Every corner seemed to whisper tales of despair, making the protagonist's heart race with unease. The discovery of an old, dust-covered journal added layers to the cabin's eerie atmosphere. Its pages, filled with the tragic past of its previous inhabitants, painted a sorrowful picture. The protagonist couldn't shake the feeling that these sorrowful tales were not just remnants of the past, but a warning for the present. The night turned terrifying as visions of the cabin's dark history played out like specters before the protagonist's eyes. Ghostly apparitions and chilling screams pierced the silence, a vivid reenactment of the horrors that once occurred within these walls. The boundary between the past and the present blurred, engulfing the protagonist in fear. An attempt to flee the cabin's oppressive atmosphere was futile, an unseen force, as if the very essence of the cabin itself barred the way. Desperation clawed at the protagonist's mind, the realization dawning that escape was not an option. The cabin, with its dark secrets, refused to release its grip. The confrontation with the entity was inevitable. It revealed its tragic story, a tale of loss and despair so profound it echoed through the ages. Understanding its sorrow, the protagonist realized the key to breaking the cycle of isolation and terror. A ritual steeped in ancient lore promised a glimmer of hope, a chance to appease the restless spirits and carve a path to freedom. The final night in the cabin was shrouded in a deceptive calm. The protagonist lay awake, pondering if the ritual had indeed pacified the restless spirits. Outside, the woods seemed to hold their breath, and the shadows retreated into the corners, as if respecting a newfound peace. As dawn broke, the cabin felt different, lighter somehow, as though the heavy veil of sorrow that had draped over it had been lifted. The protagonist, though wary, allowed themselves a moment of relief. The whispers had ceased, and for the first time, the isolation felt comforting rather than oppressive. Transitioning to the next tale, The Last Signal, Trapped in Silence, introduces a stark contrast. The setting shifts to an abandoned underground facility where the echo of loneliness takes on a new form. The character, driven by curiosity and a hint of desperation, ventures into the unknown, seeking connection in the silence. Upon discovering the old, still operational radio equipment, a flicker of hope ignites. The protagonist fiddles with the dials, adjusting frequencies in search of a human voice. When the static clears momentarily, allowing mysterious and desperate voices to break through, it feels like a lifeline thrown into the depths of isolation. The exploration deepens, both physically into the bowels of the facility and emotionally into the psyche of the protagonist. Signs of previous inhabitants stir a mix of excitement and dread. The voices over the radio grow increasingly personal, blurring the lines between the haunted and the haunting. In the dimly lit, forgotten corridors of the underground facility, the protagonist stumbled upon old, still operational radio equipment. The crackle of static gave way to mysterious, desperate voices, filling the silence with an eerie sense of not being alone. These voices, seemingly from nowhere, begged for help and whispered secrets of the past. As the protagonist explored deeper, the remnants of the facility's previous inhabitants began to surface. Ominous signs, faded photographs, and abandoned personal belongings painted a picture of a sudden, tragic abandonment. The voices over the radio grew more intense, now demanding impossible tasks, their pleas turning into threats. The realization dawned that these voices belonged to those who were trapped within the facility's walls, their souls unable to find peace. The air grew colder, and the once static-filled whispers turned into clear, menacing demands. The atmosphere became oppressive, as if the very essence of the facility sought to ensnare the protagonist further. Efforts to escape intensified, with the protagonist navigating through the labyrinth of tunnels, the paranormal activity escalating. Objects moved on their own, shadows danced in the periphery, and the voices grew louder, a cacophony of despair and anger. The radio, once a beacon of hope, now seemed like a curse. In a desperate bid for silence and escape, the protagonist deciphered a way to use the radio equipment to disrupt the voices. Adjusting frequencies and broadcasting a countersignal, a brief moment of silence fell over the facility. This silence, however, was short-lived as the escape through the dark, twisting tunnels grew more harrowing, the voices returning with vengeance, a reminder of the facility's haunting grip. In a desperate bid for freedom, our protagonist uncovers an old schematic hidden amongst the dusty radio manuals. It suggests a way to manipulate the radio frequencies to disrupt the paranormal forces at play. The realization hits. The radio could be the key to silencing the haunting voices forever. Working against time and with the sinister whispers growing ever more vicious, the character begins to rewire the ancient equipment. Each adjustment is made with trembling hands under the watchful gaze of unseen entities. The air crackles with anticipation, the line between technology and the supernatural blurring. Finally, the equipment buzzes to life, a signal piercing through the eerie silence. The voices, once demanding and terrifying, begin to falter. It's a battle of wills fought across the airwaves, a cacophony of desperate pleas against a lone resolve. In this moment, the protagonist clings to hope, their actions a beacon in the dark. The escape plan is set into motion, a daring attempt to navigate the labyrinthine tunnels. With the radio's static as their only guide, they stumble through the darkness. The voices now screams of rage. The oppressive atmosphere weighs heavily, a tangible reminder of the entities that lurk just beyond sight. As the narrative shifts to the Island of Whispers, the Unseen Watchers, our attention is drawn to a new scene. A character arrives at a seemingly deserted island, greeted by the deceptive tranquility of nature. Yet, there's a palpable tension, an unspoken warning in the air. The stage is set for another tale of isolation and haunting, promising a journey into the depths of the unknown. Upon arrival at the desolate island, the sense of being watched immediately prickled at the back of the character's neck. The serene beauty of the uninhabited land masked an eerie unease. As the camp was set up, every rustle and shadow seemed magnified, hinting that solitude might be an illusion. Exploration revealed ancient relics scattered across the island, each bearing the weight of a cursed history. These artifacts, worn by time, whispered tales of a forgotten civilization and its tragic demise. The discovery of these relics served as the first tangible evidence that the island harbored dark secrets. As night enveloped the island, an unsettling chorus of whispers crept through the darkness. These whispers, barely discernible, seemed to carry the sorrow and anger of the island's past inhabitants. The air grew thick with the weight of unspoken secrets, making the character question the silence that surrounded them. Encounters with ghostly figures began to occur with unsettling frequency. These apparitions, remnants of the island's cursed past, moved with a purpose, leading the character to hidden places and revealing glimpses of the island's tragic history. Each encounter brought the character closer to understanding the depth of the island's despair. The mystery of the island's curse slowly unraveled as the character pieced together the stories of the past. It became clear that the island was a prison for the spirits trapped by the curse. To break free from the haunting whispers and ghostly figures, the character realized they must confront the island's darkest secrets head-on. Upon discovering the ancient ritual meant to lift the curse and appease the spirits, our protagonist felt a blend of hope and dread. The island's dense fog seemed to whisper encouragements, yet each step towards preparation was shadowed by an eerie feeling of being closely watched by unseen eyes. Executing the ritual alone was a daunting task. Surrounded by the remnants of the island's dark past, the protagonist moved with determined precision. The air crackled with energy as chants were whispered into the night, each word a plea for peace and release from the relentless watch of the island's unseen guardians. The final confrontation was a battle of wills against the island's darkest entity. Shadows danced in the flickering light of the ritual fire, forming sinister shapes. With heart pounding, the protagonists stood their ground, invoking the ancient words with a strength they didn't know they possessed, aiming to break the centuries-old curse. As the ritual reached its climax, a deafening silence fell over the island. A sense of relief washed over our protagonist, hinting at a victory against the darkness. Yet, as they prepared to leave, an unsettling realization dawned upon them. Had the curse truly been broken, or had they merely appeased the spirits temporarily? Departure from the island was a bittersweet moment. The boat drifted away from shore, but a soft whisper lingered in the air, a haunting reminder of the island's persistent mysteries. It seemed a piece of the island's soul had woven itself into the protagonist's very being, forever altering their perception of isolation. In the profound silence of isolation, the echo of our deepest fears finds us, reminding us that solitude is a veil, behind which the unseen and unheard patiently wait. In isolation, we are never truly alone serves as a chilling testament to the unseen companions that accompany us in our loneliest moments, whispering secrets we're not always ready to hear. This brings us to the end of our trilogy for this evening. We hope you have enjoyed our cautionary tales. If you would like to see more of our horror stories, please like and subscribe to our channel to enjoy more terror tales. For now, sleep well, viewer, and we hope to see you next time.